Thank you very much. And welcome to Cats and Dogs here on Press TV with me, Lembit Topic, where we begin with the value of the spoken word. Have you ever heard the expression, talk is cheap? Well, the reality is that's not always so. Sometimes it costs a lot, like in the case of Josep Borrell. Back in October 2022, this top European Union diplomat delivered a rather curious speech in which he compared Europe to a garden and the rest of the world to an invading jungle. How politically poetic. Some might say the speech was bad and boring, short on wisdom and long on cliches and contradictions, but it also turned heads for its poisonous comparison of the well-groomed EU and the savage rest of the world. Critics blamed him for his racist remarks and for turning history upside down. But are we being unfair on this funny fellow? Perhaps we should give him the benefit of the doubt. Or was he planting more than cliches and harvesting more than racism and undiplomatic insensitivity? So, before we go any further, let's revisit the situation.
In my little garden, now promise you won't laugh. I haven't any flowers and I haven't any grass. And now I'm going to dig and plant. Soon I'll have a show with a bit of sun and a bit of rain. There'll be a lovely row. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4 5 potato, 6 potato, 7 potato more. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4 5 potato, 6 potato, 7 potato more.
Oh yes. In my little garden, I promise you won't laugh. I haven't any flowers and I haven't any grass. But now I'm going to fight and steal other nations' gas and take their oil by lots of force. There'll be a lovely row. 1 invasion, 2 invasions, 3 invasions, 4 5 invasions, 6 invasions, 7 invasions more. You get the picture. Okay, so I'm altering the words a little bit from the original and the tune, but you have to remember blustering Borrell did say, the gardeners have to go to the jungle. Before Borrell's speech, other people used to use unhelpful words such as colonizers, exploiters, invaders, things like that instead of gardeners. But let's do what we always do on this programme, give the man the right of reply. Ladies and gentlemen, let's find out what he actually meant by his innovative metaphor. Please welcome, on the Cats and Dogs phone line, the constant gardener himself, Mr. Josep Borrell. Mr. Borrell, welcome to Cats and Dogs.
I like the name.
Oh, you like Cats and Dogs, do you? Why?
Cats and dogs remind me of a garden with pets and domestic animals.
I see. What about Asian dragons and Russian bears?
Now I hate those. And the Black Panthers as well.
Well, why do you hate those animals?
Because they live in the jungle, and they cannot be nice people like me and you. Cats and dogs can be trained to obey simple instructions, for example, from Brussels.
Why did you compare the rest of the world to a jungle?
Because it's chaotic, savage, full of war and bloodshed and riots.
But come on, right under your very nose, riots have erupted in French cities after France lost to Argentina in football.
Fake news.
Well, hang on a sec, take a look at this.
Oh, yes, I remember now. This only proves my point.
But how does it prove your point?
I warned everyone. The jungle dwellers have invaded our little garden. That's them, in our garden, invading. And invading our World Cup. And winning the World Cup.
But that doesn't really make sense. If the jungle dwellers won the World Cup, then why were they rioting in France?
To make it look like I was saying something bad. That's how terrible these jungle dwellers are.
Mr. Borrell, thank you very much.
Jungle dwellers, go home.
Okay, that's enough. You made your point. European garden or Animal Farm. George Orwell reference there, by the way, folks. Anyway, whatever the state of Borrell's jungle, as Europe's weather gets colder and colder, politically it's getting hotter and hotter, with endless riots and strikes, including in the UK. Finally, even nurses across Britain launched an historic strike, walking out of hospitals and onto picket lines. That's because years of falling pay and declining standards left the country's healthcare system in the state of, as Borrell might put it, a jungle. Let's see what the headlines might say. HM Treasury, nurses' purses still under curses. Florence Nightingale, angels in white should not go on strike. Duke of York, I honestly don't remember meeting any of those nurses ever. Borrell, a hospital is a garden inside a jungle. It is time to cut down the jungle. NHS, if strikes continue, remember, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and it's cheaper than a pay rise. Meanwhile, this unweeded garden seems hostile to women. Back in 2017, a nationwide poll in the United States revealed 60% of US women have experienced sexual harassment. In 2019, the same percentage of European women said they'd endured workplace sexual harassment or violence too. Such assault and harassment stories keep rocking the world of entertainment, business and politics, with Sweden even earning the tragic label of rape capital of Europe. All this finally provoked our friendly gardeners of the world into action. How? By removing Iran from the UN Commission on the Status of Women. Nice one, guys. Get caught and blame someone else. Thanks to their short and highly selective memory, when it comes to their own cases, Westerners take no time in pointing at whoever they can find in their self-defined jungle. Now remember the 9/11 attacks? The majority of terrorists behind those were Saudi nationals in close contact with Riyadh. So how did the US punish the Saudis? Well, Washington did the logical thing. They invaded Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the Israeli regime has not yet signed or ratified the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. It has a nuclear stockpile of approximately 90 warheads. Now many feel these pose constant threats to the world. Therefore, NATO again did the obvious thing. They invaded Iraq. And then there's US President Barack Obama. Remember him? Can we fix it? Yes, we can. Well, he fixed 542 drone strikes that killed over 3,700 people. And the Swedish gardeners punished him with a Nobel Peace Prize. How about the thousands of Rohingya Muslims tortured and killed in Burma? The top politician already had a Nobel Peace Prize, so the West dealt with this situation by punishing Venezuela, or as I like to call it, oil-rich Venezuela. Meanwhile, in the occupied territories, the Israeli regime faces a new issue: a 52% drop in demand to join the army. Why are young Israelis so reluctant to put on a uniform? How's the army responding to this crisis? Let's answer that in pictures. These soldiers have found this boy just round the corner. Obviously, he's really happy to join the army, but do they know he's Palestinian? The soldiers' favourite movie is clearly Forrest Gump. Run, Forrest, run away. These soldiers are crying because they must have been supporting the French World Cup football team. Bad luck, fellas. Did they really get this effect from just one cigarette? Check out that cigarette and someone please open a window. That's all for this week. Join me again next time to see who's smoking what, what's burning where, and if Borrell's bonfire of the similes is still smouldering. That's all on Press TV with me, Lemon Turpic, and Cats and Dogs.